Okay, so on the quiz, yeah, I agree with you on this. This was a little, the way it graded it didn't give you any credit, even though you got 5 out of the 6, and so I will go ahead and change that. But, and I think you probably understand why this is -1 at 3/4 pi. So anyways, if you're unsure, let me know, but I think it was more a question about why you didn't get any credit. So I will change that on your quiz. But then I think you were more concerned about reference angles and how that works. And so I have this diagram here, and now this is in degrees because it's always a little bit easier to explain something in degrees, and then we can kind of look at it in radians. And so the simple explanation about reference angles is it's just the angle that is created with your terminal side and the x-axis. And so what that does is a reference angle for our trig equations for sine, cosine, and tangent. You'll get the same value. The sign might be different. And so that's kind of how we're going to use reference angles. And so, but anyways, here are the formulas for this depending on what quadrant you're in. Oops, sorry about that. Um, okay, so the only difference here is instead of using 180 degrees or 360, when we're using radians, we'll just use pi. We'll use pi, or 3.14 might be okay for rounding. Oops, that would be 2 pi right there. And so that's what we're going to do to figure out these reference angles. And so, like I said, it's just the angle between the terminal side and the x-axis. And that angle that you're going to get is going to always be somewhere between 0 and 90 degrees, or in terms of radians, it would be between 0 and pi over 2. And like I said, you'll see how that can be useful later on um, in finding those ratios for sine, cosine, and tangent. So let's go ahead and look at the ones from the quiz. So right here it says give the reference angle for the following angle of 2.30. Assume it's radians if there's no degrees. So we're going to assume that. So looking at our unit circle, basically our x and y axis here. So going all the way around, that would be 2 pi. So this would be pi over here, which is about 3.14. So 2.3 is going to be somewhere in quadrant 2. And so I don't know exactly where it's at, but I'm just going to roughly draw it about right there. So what we're looking for is this angle right here. Well, we know that going at a half a rotation is pi, right? A half a rotation is pi. So really, we just need to subtract off this part right here. We need to subtract off that part, and that'll tell us what that angle size is right here. So what we're going to do is a pi is a half rotation, and then we're going to subtract off how much that it rotated for our terminal side right here. So we're going to subtract off 2.30, and I'm just going to use my calculator. You could probably use 3.14 would probably be fine, but I'm going to go ahead and use pi. So let's see, pi minus 2.3. I don't even really need to put the 0, but there we go. So 0.84 for rounding 2 decimal spots. And you can see that's our answer down here. 0.84, 0.84, either one is fine. Either one would be counted correct. Okay, so now let's look at the next one. The next one's pretty similar. And so this time we're at 5.24. So once again, here we go. So this would be at about 3.14. And so if you go down here, let's see, this would be at 3 pi over 2, which as a decimal, let's see what that is, just so we can make sure we know what we're working with. So let's see, 3 pi divided by 2. So that's about 4.71. So what that means is that I'm going to end up in quadrant 4 down here. So I'm in quadrant 4, and so it's about like that. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. And so I'm looking for this angle right here. That's what we're looking for. And so a full rotation would be 2 pi or 360, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 pi and subtract off how much I've rotated so far, and then find that little missing piece right there, and that would be that reference angle. So we're going to take 2 pi this time and subtract 5.24. And so let's see, let's go ahead and do that. So let's see, 2 pi minus 5.24. And let's see, so we get 1.04. And once again, you can see it down right there, 1.04. All right, and so the last thing, let me just kind of go up here and we'll look at quadrant 3 so you can see the formula for that one. So the way that one works is if you're looking for this angle, well, you have this whole angle right here, and so what you do is you take how much you've rotated and subtract off that part right here. That's why you subtract off 180 or pi. So you take the angle and then you actually subtract off 180 to figure out that reference angle right there, that little piece. So anyways, I hope that helps. If you have more questions or anything, just feel free to send them.